Hey guys, welcome to the video.
In 2023, I remember the date because I remember when I was depressed. It was 3 years ago. Anyway, I made this video about remakes. My issue at the time was people who ask for remakes aren't even new fans. They're people who are old fans and they want to re-experience the game. Okay, but the biggest benefit of a remake is introducing new fans, to me at least. So without that excuse, you're just treating the original like some outdated junk. Or, on the other hand, you have a remake like Persona 3 Reload. In a way, Persona 3 is dated, and yet it is that datedness that makes it timeless. Let me explain. It is a product of its time. Bringing it over to modern day would miss the point of the time period it was created in, much like Persona 2. And I'm the only one that has played Persona 2, so I'm the only one that could say this. The longing and nostalgia that Persona 3 fans feel for the game is exactly how the game is supposed to feel. So if you're going to work with the themes of death and saying goodbye to a loved one, maybe it would be more fitting to make a sequel to Persona 3 instead of a remake, maybe something like the eternal punishment to its innocent sin. But instead they just retreaded the same ground, which everyone wanted. Of course everyone wanted it. If we take a look at a game called Final Fantasy VII, we see an exact case of this. Yes, people wanted to remake this game, which is a timeless classic game that I have actually finished. It has a very dated aesthetic, yet it is very charming and it fits the atmosphere. But no, people wanted it remade, and I understood it. I was excited when there was a remake announced. It was a big deal, but the remake basically just became a sequel. The remake was a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, so why did it disguise itself as a remake? Why not say Final Fantasy VII the sequel? That would have been more exciting, would have been more honest, and would have gotten people to play the original without stomping on it, which is what some would argue the remake did. It's what I would argue, because I don't really like the remake. Sorry. Message being here that inevitably, when a game is remade, it does not end up being the definitive version of the game in question unless the game in question kind of sucked ass. For example, Metroid Zero Mission remade the original Metroid. Nobody wants to play the original Metroid. It's not very good. So Zero Mission ends up being the definitive version. But we're not in the Game Boy era anymore. The games that we're remaking are actually good. Remaking Banjo-Kazooie isn't the same as remaking Super Mario Land. So this brings me to Persona 4, and you would think based on everything I said that this would be a disaster, because Persona 4 is even less dated than Persona 3. Its themes, its gameplay, even its aesthetic are all nearly on the level of a modern game. So what use is Persona 4 Revival to us? Why does it exist? Well, you see, the thing is, I just shat on remakes, but I actually welcome this. I'm actually fine with Persona 4 Revival, and this is for a couple of reasons. One is my bias for Persona 4. Because you see, while I was playing Persona 4, and I love Persona 4, and Persona 4 is my second favorite game, my favorite game is Persona 5, which makes me a loser. But you see, while I was playing it, I realized Persona 4 and Persona 5 are very similar to each other. They're both very modern, very slick-feeling games. And yet Persona 4 feels almost held back by the limitations of the time where Persona 5 thrives in it. Persona 4 is forced to be more like Persona 3, when it's trying to be more like Persona 5. In a way, this does fit Inaba. It is a bit of a run-down town. That's part of the vibe of it. But again, the game itself is going for a more modern and appealing feeling, which is similar to Persona 5. So I feel like bringing it up to par with Persona 5 is much more natural than Persona 1, 2, or 3. Those games feel much more like a product of their time, where Persona 4 feels more timeless, in the sense that you could bring it over to now, and it could fit Persona 5, and it feels right here. It feels right in this style, in this vibe. It doesn't feel like we're trouncing on as much as Persona 3. Now, my second reason why I'm okay with Persona 4 Revival is a very strange discussion we're going to have. Can a remake replace the original? Some want this to be the case. They want the remake to replace the original. That's why they get angry when a remake doesn't replace the original, or when one isn't even announced. Because if a remake isn't announced, it means my favorite game will be stuck in the past and never perfected. Well, to the people who say that, I say that's a very flawed philosophy. No art is perfect. That's what makes it interesting. Games are art. I don't treat them like these people do. I treat them as a painting. You cannot remake a painting without it being a different thing. Because of that, a remake can never replace the original. If I were in control of corporate gaming, I would just re-release games, not remake them. And so Persona 4 was re-released. It was beloved when it was already out in its original state, and yet there comes Persona 4 Golden, becoming the definitive version of the game. At least you'd think so. Except many Persona 4 fans say it is in fact not the definitive version of the game. It has less atmosphere, the added content takes away from the story, and it's too shiny. It's too sanitized. It's not as atmospheric. In many ways, this parallels Persona 4 Revival. Yet Persona 4 Golden is how I played Persona 4. And in many ways, I would disagree with the sentiment that it's not as good as the original Persona 4, because at the end of the day, I played the game, I got the point, I got the message, and it was pretty much exactly what I wanted it to be. I didn't feel like these complaints, like the added content and the new aesthetic or whatever, really damaged Persona 4 to me. However, does that make Persona 4 Golden the definitive version of Persona 4? Does it replace Persona 4? Well, I thought so. Yet, that comes from a place of insecurity. Of course, I want the version of the game I played to be the best version. I don't even want to touch the inferior version. So, once again, I'm an elitist and I've decided Persona 4 Golden replaces Persona 4 because I played it and I did not play the original, therefore it has to be better. This is obviously not true, and I am biased and stupid. On the opposite end, if I play Persona 4 first, I might see this new, flashing, annoying version of the game sold to me, and I'd be tempted to say that it's wrong, it's trying to replace my beloved game. I don't even want people to play this piece of shit, blah blah. Many people complained Persona 3 Reload wasn't the definitive version of Persona 3 that they all wanted, yet I don't know if that was even possible to begin with. Humans are such perfectionist creatures, yet art isn't made to be perfect. It can't be replicated, it can't be replaced decades later. The reason I'm fine with Persona 4 Revival is honestly just because it looks like Persona 4 Golden 2. I hate the word 2. I really hate saying 2. I don't know what it is anyway. It looks flashier, it looks properly updated, blah 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 blah. It's the same cycle over and over again. The only difference is how I react to it, because I'm not particularly upset this time, or particularly over the moon. I simply accept this as a new version of a beloved game that will be played by old and new fans, and I could still appreciate this game while being excited that they actually made new ideas. They made Metaphor, they're making Persona 6, so while we are in a tiring era where we have more remakes than new ideas, I'm willing to judge the remakes on their own merit now, good or bad, rather than just knee-jerk reaction to their existence for the sake of elitism. In conclusion, this is why Persona 4 Remake doesn't bother me that much, even though it probably should. Now let's take a look at what Nintendo's doing. Actually, I think I want to kill myself.